What's going on, fam? Welcome to the Get the Bag podcast, episode 31. Man, we're
Yep.
climbing up the ladder there. Um, I'm your host, Gladia Castro. We got my co-host Tim Park. We
Hey,
got
fam.
really exciting episode for you guys today. But before we get into that, I always say hit the like button, subscribe, share this with your network. We're here for you. So if you can
Yep.
post any questions that you guys have throughout our conversation, we'd be more than happy to answer them. But of course, you guys can always follow us on IG as well. That information will be in the show notes. So interesting conversation today,
Mm-hmm.
and one that there's no one direct way to go about it, which is how to start a career in real estate, or because we don't when you're an investor, right? It's not really, it's almost like I don't see people considering it like a career, right? Because it's not
Mm-hmm.
your traditional job.
Right.
But we're going to discuss different options that you may have in real estate. There's not a single way, especially if you're new and you've never even heard of wholesaling or what's
Mm-hmm.
fix and flipping, stuff like that. We go off of what the main media or mass media kind of shares with us. So
Sure.
we want to just kind of uncover those things. So um, when I guess you've been pretty aware of real estate,
Mm-hmm.
Tim. What like I guess a couple years ago when real estate topic came up, like what where did you go to? What did you consider it as?
Well, what my knowledge of real estate, you know, was is that you had to be like a realtor, or if
Right.
you kind of want to get in real estate, right? You had to go be a realtor, or if you wanted to be a mortgage lender, or you could be a real estate lawyer. So all of
Mm-hmm.
these aspects of the profession really was it, and then you could be an investor. So that's
Mm-hmm.
what I was most interested in, and how to be an investor. So I already kind of knew what direction I kind of wanted to go within the real estate field. But a lot of people just know that there's kind of only one or two ways to kind of get into the field, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there's a lot more after getting into it, and learning more about real estate, that there's a lot more. Like, now you have your escrow agents, your title companies, and all of these different aspects of real estate that kind of open the door of which way you want to kind of get in. And then each way is different. It may be more geared toward what your situation is. If you want to have a
Mm-hmm.
career in the lending side, or if you want a career as an agent, just helping and just selling, being part of a team there, and working for a major brand in real estate. And there's nothing wrong with that, but my
Right.
route was getting into investing, and how to generate generational wealth, and just be very comfortable in my financial situation, um, when when it came to my family, and taking care of my family. So
Mm-hmm.
that was kind of the mindset of getting into real estate. What about yourself?
Yeah, it was probably on a similar route. I mean, I've always actually, for the last 10 years, I was a big HGTV fan. So I feel like that's kind
Yeah.
of shaded me and like my initial thoughts of like, okay, I know a realtor. There's always in those shows, there's always a fix and flipper, right?
Yeah.
Always like finding the ugliest houses, and then there's like a realtor. So I knew, okay, there's a project manager, contractor, and so that's like the only route I thought. Like, okay, but I never, 10 years ago when I started watching these shows, I never considered like, oh yeah, that's not for me, or
Hmm.
I'm never going to do that. But as the pandemic hit and we were kind of stuck inside, I started listening to more podcasts, and I think I shared my story with this with Chris when I did my interview with him. But he mentioned how did you get into it, and it wasn't really until my brother's girlfriend like bought a house in
Mm.
Vegas,
Hmm.
and I was like, how does she do that? Like, how is that even
Right.
possible? And like, I just wheels just started turning. And that's where I was introduced to Bigger Pockets,
Mm-hmm.
which, if especially if you don't know anything, I mean, don't get caught in the rabbit hole of analysis paralysis. But
Right.
that's a great place to start, either their podcast or their forum. If you go, I think biggerpockets.com, and just type in anything. You can even type in how to get started in real estate. And even then that can take you down different trajectories. So that opened my eyes in terms of that. But even then, before, they were talking more about fix and flip and like the
Mm-hmm.
BRRRR strategy, which
Mm-hmm.
was all new to me. It wasn't until they interviewed somebody who was a wholesaler that really got my mind thinking like, oh, you just flip paper? Like
Mm-hmm.
you don't
Mm-hmm.
have to be licensed. That was
Mm-hmm.
really intriguing. For me, I'm always finding the least path of
Right.
resistance. Like,
Exactly.
if you even look at my job that I have now, like I didn't get a degree in in technology or in product management or whatever it is. It just
Mm-hmm.
kind of just happened through work experience. So that was something that I was like, that I don't have to do much. I just have to learn. And so that's where kind of found Chris, which is ironic. I just literally just put this on, just repping
So
the U
you,
today.
right?
um but yeah, I mean, those are really, that was all I knew, was like uh realtor, become a
Mm-hmm.
realtor, and fix and flip, HGTV. I knew nothing about wholesaling. um so it's really interesting how now more wholesalers have come out from the pandemic, and now they're,
Mm-hmm.
more people are promoting it. Now I'm noticing those we buy houses, which maybe
Right.
before we didn't. So yeah, it's really interesting how once you're exposed to something, now you see it everywhere. So it's always been in
Right.
front of our noses in a
Mm-hmm.
way.
Yeah, we're kind of biased because that's how we got started into real estate, was the wholesaling side, right? And now we're continuing on with uh, wholesaling, but with my business, I've kind of um, gone to commercial, the commercial
Hmm.
side as well too, with multifamily, like retail,
Hmm.
industrial, and office buildings. So it just kind of opened the whole. I guess I cracked
The code.
the nut there. So it's just a situation where a whole new world of information and how you get started
Right.
in real estate. And because I get, people ask me, I say I'm in real estate and this is what I do, and they're like, you're not an agent, or
Right.
the traditional way of real estate has always been, you get into real estate being a real estate agent, right? And so
Right.
a lot of people, the first conversations, oh, I thought about being a real estate agent. And it's like, well,
Right.
there's other avenues. You don't have to be a real estate agent if you don't want to. And so I go into that whole spiel, and they they kind of raise their eyebrows and like, what? Is that aha moment
Is it
when,
legal? Is it
right, right,
spam? Yeah, or a
exactly.
scam, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, totally. That even with my own, I thought I had to get a real estate license, or that was the proper way to go about it. And even when I talk about my assignments, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just closed the deal. And they go, oh, what's your commission? And I mean, commission, assignment, like it really is similar,
Yeah.
but it's not, when you're a
Mm-hmm.
realtor, it's all like things have to be phrased a very specific way. You can't just
Mm-hmm.
say, like, I can't say I got a commission
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not a realtor or a broker. There's like
Mm-hmm.
different lingo and stuff,
Yeah.
or like maybe a residential, maybe commercial. I don't even know if you guys use, because you guys share the pie on the
Mm-hmm.
commission.
Yeah.
But yeah, and so usually that introduces. I'm like, oh no, I'm not a realtor, or I'm not an agent. They go like, what are you? What are you?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Who
Right.
are you? And so that introduces a way to kind of give an elevator pitch of like, this is what I do. This
Mm-hmm.
is how it works. And so people are always like, like it's always the same reaction every single time. It's so funny.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm having to introduce them um, with those phrases and the how it kind of works. And so in a
Right.
way, I'm kind of selling. me in selling
Mm-hmm.
like what wholesaling is.
Yeah.
So
So I guess let's kind of break down, I guess, the different ways to kind of get into real estate. I think,
yeah,
of course, wholesaling is what we kind of got started in, right? So
right.
wholesaling is probably the lowest barrier of entry if you have really zero to low budget in
Yep.
getting into real estate and you don't want to get a license and all that. So we'll kind of describe, a
Mm-hmm.
realtor in a minute, but it just allows you to um, get talk to a seller, get it under contract with
Mm-hmm.
them as you are buying it, and then find a buyer or fix and flipper that is looking for a house to flip in that area, and you would just assign
Mm-hmm.
that contract to them
Right.
at a higher
A
price,
higher price.
right?
Yep.
And then so you take it to your closing attorney, title company, or escrow company, and open uh, an escrow account, and then upon closing, that spread between what you locked up the contract with the seller and what you assigned the buyer or fix and flipper with
Mm-hmm.
is what gets sent to you, through wire transfer or a check. So that's
Yep.
kind of a small breakdown of what wholesaling is. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot that goes involved in that, but just
Right.
the basic concept of that, right?
Yep.
And then, the traditional way is being a realtor, right? You can go that route, which is you have to apply or, take the test, study for it,
Yeah,
take the
like
test.
different hours,
Right.
number of hours to complete. And
Mm-hmm.
there's now a variety of like online courses I think that you can take, and then you take the test. There is like a fee, and it's I know people who are realtors. Obviously, we work with realtors, so we kind of understand like their process a little bit, but yeah, you usually have to pay, you have to pass the test, and then from there you have to join a brokerage,
Mm-hmm.
right?
That's correct.
And then what brokers are is they basically are like a step above. They went.
Mm-hmm.
I'm assuming they have to do a test as well.
Yeah, they have to pass a additional test.
Right. So they take
Additional.
their talents further,
Mm-hmm.
and usually with a broker is they can work independently and start their own brokerage. So when you see like Century 21 or
Mm-hmm.
Compass, like those are
Mm-hmm.
brokerages where they have a team of realtors that they hire. Now, when you have real estate agents that work under your brokerage, they have to, when they close their commission, they have to give some of the money to the brokerage. So it's a really interesting thing, like the way it kind of makes up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but that's usually the process with it. And from what I understand, it's very expensive
Mm-hmm.
to get your broker's license. And even then, there's a variety of different, going back to being a real estate agent or even a
Mm-hmm.
broker. There's like residential agent, there's
Mm-hmm.
commercial agent, there's residential brokers, there's commercial brokers. So
Mm-hmm.
there's levels to that, but those are kind of the basics.
Yeah. And to elaborate a little bit more, because we were saying low entry to barrier if you have a low
Hmm.
budget, like you have to spend money on the tests, and then you have to
Right.
spend money on the marketing, and with the brokerage and stuff, and you have to split your fees really with the brokerage, right? So
Right.
that's kind of some of the expenses that you would have to occur when you're a real estate agent. You'll have to buy
Right.
signs, and if you're a listing agent, all this stuff like that. So
Right.
depending if the brokerage actually provides you your that information as well too. So
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
there's nothing wrong with. I mean, we work with realtors before. It's not a problem. So as a real estate investors, you know, they can find buyers for us. So they may have a fix and flipper that they work with in partnership because they list the property after they renovate, right? So
Right.
that's the relationship that they have. So as a wholesaler, we are open to working with realtors that are investor friendly, right? So they kind of
Right.
know and understand. Some realtors don't understand what a wholesaler does, and they feel like we're invading in their territory, and they get very um, possessive on that. And it's not that. We're just trying to, I'm all about working together for an ultimate goal because we're all trying to
Right.
get paid, right?
Right.
And
There's plenty of money out there.
there's money out there, and if they want to get, have part of that commission or a referral fee or whatever the case may be, you definitely can work it out
Right.
on that end too. So I think there was a question on.
Yep. I was just gonna say, do you know the percent that they have to split with? I'm assuming with the broker,
Mm-hmm,
because usually typical, I mean, residential, even commercial. Well, commercial is usually lower because you're dealing with higher
mm-hmm,
money, but typically it's like 3 to 6%, perhaps. The commission.
mm-hmm,
Do you know like
mm-hmm.
what percentage is given to the broker?
Yeah, so the broker could take, it depends on each broker. It could be different. Sometimes they take 60-40, sometimes it's 80-20, sometimes it's 50-50. It just really depends
Depends on the
based on
brokerage.
that the commission, right? So
Right.
let's say they get a 3% commission, they would have to split that with the broker, let's say 80-20 or 70-30 or whatever on
Right.
that. So that's kind of how that would go. But sometimes it's just a split, like 1.5 goes to the brokerage and then
Mm-hmm.
1.5 goes to the goes to you as a real estate agent. So there's
Right.
different kind of um, depending on what brokers you're with and what relationship you have and what you negotiate with the broker.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. And like I said, even with commercials, I mean, you're dealing with like bigger size deals.
Mm-hmm.
It's the pool of money is a little bit smaller, where
Yeah.
you're actually splitting their commission with them, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Like the way you write out the language in the contract,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like a consulting fee, or
Mm-hmm.
and so that pot of the commission is split, but usually it's like maybe like 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, because on these bigger deals, like the lower the amount, the price
The
of
higher the
the higher the percentage,
right,
but the higher the price, then it goes down to like 1%, right?
right.
So, but that 1% is still a lot of money when you're
Yeah, I mean,
talking
if you're
about
talking about
multi-million.
10 million or
Yeah, yeah.
over more.
So but it's funny because then I haven't done, because I'm not a realtor, so I don't know what the negotiation is per the selling agent and then the buyer's agent on that.
Right.
I'm assuming it's similar to what we're doing on the commercial side. So,
Mm-hmm.
we will get a point from, and a point, just to let you guys know, is a percentage point. So
Right.
whenever people say point, it just means a percentage point of what you're getting as a fee. So I like to call it a fee, whether it's a commission fee, whether it's an assignment fee, whether it's an advisory fee. So that's the way that you're kind of getting paid. So the fee would be coming from, usually on a commercial deal, it's the seller kind of or the buyer kind of pays for the commission, right? Or you
Mm-hmm.
ask
Right.
for the commission from the buyer, and
Mm-hmm.
then the seller also pays a commission too, because you kind of negotiate what would be, is it going to be 2 points, 1 point, or whatever, and you have that relationship with the seller and say, hey, we have investors that would actually want to purchase, or buyers in this, and then depending on the relationship on the buyer, you might get another point, and then what you do
Right.
is you split that with the agents that on there. So because if we don't
Yeah.
know the selling agent, we're not going to split our 1% with with them on the buyer side,
Oh,
but they're
gotcha. Gotcha.
willing to split their percentage for bringing in the buyer. You know what I'm saying?
Mm. Yeah, because I mean, you have like you said, that you have the seller side and then the buyer side, and
Right.
sometimes you can dip in both, depending, like you said, on leveraging
Mhm.
relationships. And it also happens in residential too, where if you're wholesaling
Mhm.
either a listed property or something like that, where the seller is responsible for the selling agent, and then you split it with the buyer's agent, because they brought the deal,
Mhm.
to keep it like simple like that. But I mean, there's just so many avenues, even within like being a realtor or working with
Mhm.
realtors. I know a lot of wholesalers who became realtors,
Mhm.
or got their real estate license to kind of add leverage in deals. Because if you
Mhm.
imagine, and there's ways you can double dip as well, even in residential, that I know many
Yep.
people do, where it's like, hey, I'm dipping into the seller's agent. Maybe I'm representing the seller, but then I brought a buyer, and I'm able to represent them. Or I don't know exactly how that works, but
Right.
um, I mean, there's an advantage in starting off as a wholesaler. You accumulate some funds and then decide you want to become a real estate agent, because if you're marketing to sellers, you can give them two paths, two
Right.
options, and be like, hey, I can give you a cash offer, which would be a wholesale for a wholesale fee. Or you can be like, well, if that cash offer didn't work for you, would you be open to listing it? I'm a real estate agent as well.
Mhm.
If you are a real estate agent and you do wholesale, there is some language, I believe, you have to be known, saying you're not this isn't a commission, you're not receiving a
Mhm.
commission fee, stuff like that. But there's great opportunities for it. I think it just varies on like the industry, the specific area in real estate that you're in, and maybe your market as well. I
Mhm.
know even certain states. I think is Chicago the only one, or Illinois, where you can't wholesale without having your real estate license, I
I
believe.
think Chicago is one of the
Chicago.
few. I think I'm not sure if Pennsylvania is or not, but they're
Yeah.
slowly passing. So you have to check the laws in your state on if you're going to be a wholesaler, if you have to have your real estate license to wholesale
Hmm.
real estate. But majority of the states that and cities in those areas allow you to wholesale, right?
Yeah.
And so that's so it's just if you're going to wholesale in a certain state, then just double check for
Yeah,
sure.
because I think Pennsylvania is just you have to take a course, or it's like certified as a not necessarily an agent, but it's like a wholesaling certification that you have to
Hmm.
take and pay. It's like $50, so nothing like crazy. But there is, I think, because of the Realtors Association, I think, who don't like you said, they're possessive. They don't
Yeah,
like wholesalers, because there are those bad wholesalers out there that
yeah.
just giving us a bad rep. So, there are regulations coming. I would foresee in the next couple years, whether it's people
Hmm.
getting their real estate license, or maybe a specific wholesale
Right,
license, maybe.
right.
So it is going to become harder. So that's why it's like, hey, just get started now while you can.
Exactly.
But even the commercial space, like we talked, going back to that, there's not, if you know the right people, you don't really need um, any licenses.
Right, right. And it's great because I don't know, but the commercial side is really evolving in our business, and so
Hmm.
a lot of people. It's funny because now that has the markets changed, a lot of private equity and different uh, financial managers are looking for alternative investments, which real
Mm,
estate falls under,
right.
but they may not know the real estate environment or industry as well as they do, with stocks and different bonds and stuff. So they have been calling, like different family offices on, can we uh, put money into some of your investments that you currently have? And if there's a deal, can you let us know? And then we kind of walk them through like what that looks like, we would do the underwriting and tell them, hey, this is a good deal. You can come in at X amount, and then you would get a return of X in 3 to 5 years, or even sooner than that, depending on what they want on that. So it's really, I didn't even know that was an option within real estate, is that because this is the first time there was for me to be in real estate, and there's a dip, right? And so I'm just learning more on different possibilities of avenues within the company, my company, and how we can help other people besides just sellers, right? We're helping financial advisors and trying to recoup some of the money that they lost in the stock market, and
Crypto,
by opening up other avenues of that. So it's really interesting. So going back to, there's different ways to get into real estate, and I know for what we do is it's more of a business for us, and a lot of people work as a career for it. So like you said, it's not really kind of a career, but this is a path that we chose to start a business to do that. And this is what we do for our for our life, and that's what we choose. And other people choose paths to work for other people in real estate, right? So and there's nothing wrong with that. And especially if you're trying to learn and get into that field and then break off and start your own stuff, then that's a way to go as well too.
And many people do it that way as well. But I think that's a great point. So many people just kind of are always interested, and there's like, why not learn the ropes first before you break off and do your own thing. But like I said, you can go super deep into each thing, and like there's different ways to be investors. Like active investors are people who kind of like us, like you guys are underwriting deals. But you can be a passive investor too. We can also talk, like mention syndication. Is another form too. But passive investors are people with money. So usually it's like lawyers, doctors, or it can be anybody really, depending on it. But if you're dealing with these big old deals, it's people with money, with deep pockets. So by being passive, they're trusting a company like you guys, like with money, and being like, hey, I have $1 million, put it somewhere, invest it in something, and I want, and hopefully in a couple years I get, double my investment or something like that. So there's different avenues to like invest, because this industry, or like being a business owner, it isn't for everybody. Not everybody wants to, or people love their job, whatever it is, like they're in a doctor, a lawyer, whatever the case may be. So it's being an entrepreneur isn't for everybody. So, but they want to park their money somewhere. Some people do the stock market. Some people do, syndications, which, is a little bit more complicated, but it's related also to multifamily. That's also another route you can take to own real estate or to invest in real estate. But we're trying to just create like simple steps in terms of like where you can kind of get started.
Absolutely.
But yeah, we just named a few. So, we talked about wholesaling, realtor, broker, dipped it into a little bit of commercial, because commercial is so broad. It can go any way. But we can talk about multifamily, because, that can be an active investment. Like if you're putting in money and having to manage it, or you get somebody to manage it. But that's also a great way to, not necessarily a career, but getting started in real estate, is owning assets. So I know many people who just focus on multifamily and do really, really well. And there's also fix and flipping, which can kind of evolve into different things. But yeah, it's just kind of like picking something that you're kind of gravitate towards, and then just starting there. And I know why people gravitate towards wholesaling, because similar to us, we're like least path of resistance. I don't need anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, yeah, let me sign up for this course and see how it goes. Whereas maybe other people, you know, either because they know or they don't know, want to get started through a different route.
Yeah, exactly. And I think, like, we're talking about multifamily, and it's an easy way if you have a 9 to 5, and you kind of want to get into real estate, and you just don't know what path to go. You're not willing to switch careers because you have this 9 to 5 that you're really good at, but you're making a decent amount of money, but you want to get into real estate. So, like, multifamily could be 2 to 4 units, which is residential, and then 5 units or more is on the business side, but a commercial side. But it's a good way to generate passive income. So,
Mm-hmm.
you get into kind of house hacking, or you just kind of buy a multifamily and then generate income from the rents from there.
Mm-hmm.
So it could add to your income, definitely, when you get into multifamily, and if you have a 9 to 5. So it's not that much more work or stress that you're putting on yourself, but you're making
Right.
extra money doing that. So a lot of people choose that path just because they may have a full-time job, and they think they are able to get into a property that allows them to generate some income,
Right.
extra income for themselves. So that's
Yeah,
a great
exactly.
path, right? For
Yeah, and a
people who
way to
want
replace their income too.
to.
I know so many people who are like, I just, my goal is just to buy one house or one multifamily or two multifamily properties to cover my expenses. And then
Right.
it just kind of turns into they bought 40 houses or 40 multifamily properties
Hmm.
and quit their job. So it just kind of varies. Or some people still have their job, like you said, they love it, they're good at it. It doesn't get in the way with like family
Hmm.
or anything like that. So there's no right or wrong way, like we've talked about. I think it's just kind of picking a lane,
Hmm.
like focusing on that, learning as much about it, taking action on it. And then as once you kind of have really learned that process, you can like move on to the next thing.
Hmm.
So for us, we started off as wholesaling,
Hmm.
learned a lot of stuff. Like you, Tim, connected with a family office, so now
Hmm.
you've been learning a lot about commercial, um, and now like we're trying to veer towards multifamily as well.
Hmm.
So it's I think it's just a natural progression, right? With like you don't want to just I don't see them like most successful people sticking to doing one thing. Like eventually,
Hmm.
people wholesaling, they're going to want to buy assets because, well,
Right.
taxes, especially if you're
Right.
making good money, you got to put park your money somewhere. You can't just spend it all. So
Yeah.
I think there's just so many opportunities. I think people just need to expose themselves to it and just kind of pick a lane. Maybe sometimes there's just too many options. So people
Yeah.
are like, I don't even know where to start. I'm going to
Right.
do multifamily today, wholesaling the other
Hmm.
day. You got to just focus on one thing at a time and
Yeah, absolutely.
patience.
And I think to further, elaborate on that, because what happens is that once you actually get into something, it opens doors to
Yeah.
exactly what you kind of want to do, right, within the field. And because it opens your mind to other aspects. Because I know that
Right.
people, when we kind of joined the U with Chris Jefferson, and we all kind of started at the same point, right? And we
Right.
learned how to wholesale, we've done deals, but then we excuse me, we spreaded our wings to other avenues. Like, I went the direction of kind of commercial and multifamily and stuff, and then I know other people that actually went the tech route. They actually
Mm.
are
Yeah.
they built platforms that they felt people needed in wholesaling or in real estate to help
Yeah.
them get more leads or help them to communicate with sellers. So
Hmm.
they actually built platforms that were improvements of current platforms, right? Or,
Right.
platforms that allow you to get lists from the county or the city and stuff. So there, it's not just, you know, doing wholesaling or being a realtor. It's finding what's going to be best path for yourself. and your
Right.
situation, and kind of going from there.
That's a really good point. Where you can veer into anything, like you said,
Mm-hmm.
tech. Yeah, I know some people that started an app for wholesalers on the
Mm-hmm.
buying side and the selling side, where you can like market your deal, or buyers can post profiles on what they're looking for, and you're going to see a lot of that. And listening to old podcasts of like Max Maxwell, or just
Mm-hmm.
even Chris Jefferson talking about like, hey, when I got started, I had to really like, the competition was just not there, because you had to do the most to get a
Yeah.
list to skip
Yeah.
trace it, let alone like it was like a whole process,
Right.
because it's just like natural evolution. Like once people catch on, like
Mm-hmm.
um somebody's going to go out there and figure out like, hey, I'm done doing this, like
Yeah.
what's a way that I can automate this
Yeah.
and turn it into a business. So you've seen that in the last couple years, like prop stream,
Mm-hmm.
dialers,
Right.
better dialers, better ways to get data, skip tracing, that kind of stuff. So you're going to see more and more of that. And now you're
Mm-hmm.
seeing people with like CRMs, different CRMs
Absolutely.
selling
Yeah.
those. So you're going to, anything where there's a pain point, there's somebody's going to turn that pain point into a profit by like, creating a business out of it. But yeah, I think that's a great point, that technology is a big aspect of that.
Yeah.
Um, and I mean, you can honestly go any direction. You kind of
You
take your
could. Yeah.
industry and relate it to real estate in one way or another.
Right. I mean, like if you come from a technical background and you want to get in real estate, and then you want to keep your technical background, there's options for that, right?
Right.
If you're very project manager oriented, then you can provide a service that actually helps real estate agents or wholesalers to be more organized and how to, put systems in place for their business. And so
Mm,
there's a lot of different avenues to not just get into, real estate. Of course, real estate kind of started that journey for you, and you're making money from that, and you continue to grow your business. But then your passion is, whether it's in tech or whether it's project management, whether it's just real estate, and you love what you're doing in the path that you kind of started in. So,
yeah.
but it all just comes down to what your desire is and how you think you. And I know money is a motivator, but when you start making money, your motivation changes in the direction of passion. I
Right.
think, right, and then that passion gets into, okay, that pushes you even further into like how can I help other people um, you know uh, get what they need. There's a void
Hmm.
that I can fill to help people do that,
Right.
right?
You're not no longer motivated by money.
Right. Right.
It's more on like helping other. I mean, naturally, I think that's why so many like real estate professionals or investors turned like into education, right? And when we talk about Chris,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
he's like, I don't want. I know what it was like starting wholesaling or getting into real estate. I didn't know where to begin, and so
Mm-hmm.
I started this course to really create a really basic, simple blueprint for anybody that is committed to follow. I mean, look at the success of all of the students. Like,
Yeah.
again, it's at some point like closing deals is not. And he even mentions too. He's like, seeing my students post their deals is like way better
Yeah.
feeling than when I close my own
Hundred
deals.
percent.
Because I
Hundred
mean,
percent.
once you get used to that, you've been doing it 10 plus years, it's like that no longer is your motivation. It's like, if you're somebody like me that's just like looking, okay, what's the next thing I can jump into?
Mm-hmm.
Like, how can I improve? It's that's like evolution. It's growth. So I
Right.
think, I think with anything, that's why it's like, don't focus on everything at first. Like, focus on
Mm-hmm.
one thing that gives you some interest. But don't let. I mean, to say money isn't a factor is a lie, but like, don't just focus solely on the money, because you lose focus. on like what's important. So the main thing is just picking something that sparks your interest, and sticking with it if that is the case. But eventually, like you say, you're going to open doors here and there, like with people you connect, going to conferences, that will eventually veer you into another sector of real estate. So I think people just need to learn to have some patience. And I'm speaking to myself too, where it's just like, I want to learn everything, like give it to me all. But it's just appreciating what you're learning and applying it in action, and the rest kind of, falls into place. So I think that's why I love real estate. And I know like I'm passionate about it when people ask me about real estate,
Yeah,
or
me too.
ask me questions of like something that I do know. I'm like, oh, like I like get super energetic, or I'm like, it just really excites me. And that tells me like, okay, I'm in the right place. Although I have a 9 to 5, which I'm passionate about. This is something that's like naturally I gravitate towards. So that's always like, if you kind of want to follow that feeling.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the most important thing is, just to get started and kind of pick a lane that you want, and like you said, just focus on that lane and stick to it, and then the doors will open within that lane on which direction you kind of want to go. But
Right.
if you kind of get into real estate in the lane that you want to, and then you may even figure out it's not for you. I mean,
Yeah.
honestly, this is
Right.
not for you. And a lot of people do quit. And, even like, I don't know the statistics for wholesalers, but, statistics
It's probably
for
close.
realtors is like they quit. Like, there's a lot of people that don't do the deal for their first year. The least amount of resistance for them as a realtor is joining a successful team,
Right.
and more doing the grunt work than anything, but everybody kind of splits the pie,
Right.
within that team. So like, so a lot of people try to do it themselves, and, and it's all about different ways to learn too, which is important, right? So we went the route of getting a mentor and learning, and having a community, and that works great for me, and obviously for you as well too. So
Right.
for someone that needs more one-on-one, then invest in that. Invest in someone that is in the industry that you want to go in that lane, and kind of give you the advice, or talk to different brokers, and network with people, and see if real estate or being realtor is the route for you.
Right.
I know that the community is big in this industry, and I know I wouldn't be where I'm at without the community that Chris Jefferson has built up right within
Right.
the U. And it's a community of people that actually uh, like-minded,
Yep.
supportive, and just great people. I would say
Yeah.
they're all great in their own way, but they're good people, right? They're
Right. Right.
good people, genuinely good people that are looking for everybody to kind of succeed within the group. So
Yeah. No. I think that no like selfish,
yeah,
no greedy like energy, or I think they call it no stingy
yeah,
energy, where, where, because you'll notice the people that have to step over people to get to their success, like they don't last
hmm
long. Or in this specific industry too, like any other industry, it's all about relationships and who you
hmm
know. Like we are just talking about the other day, right? Like I had an interesting experience with this specific person. I may not work with them
yeah,
because
yeah,
of this experience.
right,
And
right,
that's going to happen. You don't want to be that person.
yeah,
I mean, it's one thing if like your values just don't line up, which is going to happen. But like, I think that's a big part, is like reach out to somebody. Like,
hmm
I think we talk about JV all the time. I think we have an episode on JV, what a junior venture is. We also talked about networking, like how to actually
hmm
network with brokers or with other investors. other wholesalers. Like there's such a pool. I mean, if you go on Instagram, follow, like look into somebody who's like a big time investor, like say like a Max Maxwell, a Chris Jefferson. Look at who they're following. Like maybe find some people, reach out to them. Who knows? They may reach back out. But it's just putting yourself in that position, because you can't do it all on your own. You can only get so far. Maybe you can close a few deals here and there, but you need a team of supporters that's going to be by your side. So, whether it's joining a course or just working with somebody like that will take you under their wing, whatever it is, like where can you add value, and that's it. So that's 100% just relying on your group of people, because when you feel down, these are the people you need to reach out to.
Yeah,
because I guarantee that people that failed, they're in their business or whatever the case may be, maybe they didn't have like a support group to go to when things were rough. It happens all the time.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah,
It does.
so.
Like it's, I think being an entrepreneur and you're venturing out is kind of lonely, right? And
Right.
I felt like I wanted to kind of break that cycle, because I've started businesses before and getting into real estate, and I just felt like this was a different way of starting your business, because you're learning alongside building relationships and having the community of support, right? And
Right.
that's huge. So like that's what I would say is just research like that field, that specific focus that you want to be in real estate. See if there's a community out there that is in that focus, and then you maybe explore that, get into some groups or go to maybe some events like you had said, that
Yeah.
so you can surround yourself with those type of people and see if that's the lane that you kind of want to start. And then once you decide that, just you know full steam ahead, just jump
Yeah, just
in,
create a plan, set
right.
some goals. It's great, yeah, to just jump ahead, but at some point you're gonna need some plan on how you're
Mm-hmm.
gonna do it, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
definitely writing out some goals, and then just starting small. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it can be okay if it's like closing one deal. What's it
Mm-hmm.
gonna take you to do that? Okay, I got to make this amount of calls every day, or whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is. Like write those little goals, and accomplish them. Like maybe it can be a weekly goal and then a daily goal. Make them as small as you want. I think it's about like that momentum that we talked about. And
Yeah.
so once you start taking action, you'll start seeing results, because the more action you're taking, the more likely you're to land something.
Yeah,
And
for sure.
just reaching out. It's just I think it's just, I don't know if it's the ego where it's just like we're scared to ask for help.
Mm-hmm.
It's I just yeah, even a couple years ago I would have never thought of like just real estate. And somehow within the span of a year and a half, I built myself a community of like
Mm-hmm.
over 100 people,
Right.
just because of the actions I took,
Mm-hmm.
the decisions I made, and like the people I surround myself with.
Right.
The people are keeping you up, like those are the people you want to keep around. So
Absolutely.
it always starts with your circle. Like what do they say,
Mm-hmm.
the top 5 people that you hang around with or interact with the most,
Right.
can tell you a lot about yourself. So
Exactly.
that
Exactly.
that that's a big thing for me,
Mm-hmm.
where it's like I don't want to be associated with specific people, that just are not on my level. Like
Yeah.
I've been around people where it's just that like scarcity kind of like mindset, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, it's like a turn off. It's just
It
like,
is.
okay, I gotta go. I'm like,
I can't be around people like that.
right,
Yeah.
no, I can't. I can't. I'm like, my brain does not, like, will not stand for it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
And I think also like we want to hear from you guys that are listening or watching this on YouTube. Whether
yeah.
it's now or later. Make make comments below, and we want to hear what avenue that you're taking to get into
Yeah.
real estate. What profession you're getting into, whether it's an investor, realtor, or lender, multifamily, commercial, whatever the case may
Just
be.
whatever.
You
Yeah.
know, well, let us know. We'd like to hear it. We'll comment back as well, and always you can reach us as well on our socials and stuff. But I
Yeah.
think just hearing back from the people that are actually learning about this and want to get into this, I think will help us on how we can help you in the future with future podcasts and future topics as well too. So I think that's just important because that was another avenue that helped us. We started
Yeah.
this podcast, and we met through real estate, and that just kind of blossomed into, we kind of wanted to do a podcast, and it just snowballed from there. I mean, it happened really quickly. And then
It
now we're
did.
on
No,
a like,
I've always wanted to do it, and I remember I pitched it to you because I
yeah.
was too scared to do it on my own. Well, not that I
Mm-hmm.
was too scared. I was just like, that's a big thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Um, not because you and I we usually have like hour-long conversations, and I was
Yeah,
like, I've been wanting to do a podcast, and you're like, yeah, me too. I'm like, want to do one? Yeah, sure. And then the next thing you
absolutely.
know, it's like, you hear that. So I was just like, wow. It just happens quick, and we're on our 31st
I
episode.
know, it's crazy.
Um, yeah, yep, exactly, Jordan. The average, the 5 people you spend the most time with. Um, Looks like James wants to get into multifamily buy and hold. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, multifamily is a space that we're looking to get into ourselves,
Yeah.
because uh, there's if you imagine, and I think there's these conversations, right? Like, should you is residential the way to go, or multifamily?
Mm-hmm.
But if you imagine you buy a house, you only have one set. You have a house equals one door, right?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine buying a 20 unit. That's 20 doors. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you do the math. Of course, there's more managing, but as long as you have a process down, that's kind of the one thing I am learning at the moment, is you do need to have your pieces together in like relationships with brokers or real estate agents to get you deals, or like
Mm-hmm.
pocket listings. Some people go direct to seller too, just depends on the size of the multifamily. But there's little things, right? There's a property
Mm-hmm.
manager, especially if it's like out of state investing.
Mm-hmm.
There's also like what the expenses of underwriting that goes into it, taxes. There's just so many avenues. But the first thing is kind of like just picking, okay, what's a market that I want to focus on that I can afford? What's my funding?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe leveraging relationships with lenders, or whatever the case may be. But that is definitely a goal that we're hoping to acquire this year. That's like actually my quarterly goal.
Mm-hmm.
This quarter is to buy a multifamily property, out of the state, investing opportunity. So really, really excited to see what that looks like. And the thing is, you don't have to have it figured out. Is what I've learned, is like people like go in there and they figure it out as they go. Because then after your first deal, or after closing on the property, you'll learn and you can apply it to the next deal, and then the
Mm-hmm.
next, and then the next.
Right.
You're
Right.
you're never going to
Absolutely.
be an expert in everything. Just surround yourselves with
Mm-hmm.
professionals that kind of know what they're doing, or people who've been around the block and
Yeah.
have noticed that. Have a question. I have a curiosity. Can you buy a quadplex as a primary residence without an investment property loan? I know you can buy a duplex as primary res. Not sure if it's cut off. Yeah. So the cutoff
Yeah.
is actually, so 2 to 4 units. So 2 unit is duplex, three
Mm-hmm.
is triplex, four is quadplex. Those are all considered residential. Anything
Right.
over 5 units is considered commercial.
Correct.
So what you're talking about is like a primary residence. You're talking about an FHA loan,
Mm-hmm.
or I mean, you could get a conventional, but FHA you only put down 3.5%, as long as
Right.
it's your primary residence, and you have to live there for a year.
Mm-hmm.
Or I mean, I know some people who just buy it and just keep it vacant.
Right. Right.
um, we're not experts by any means. Let me just add that. But yes, there is a way, and people get FHA loans that's
Mm-hmm.
residential,
Right.
and it's what's called house hacking.
Yeah.
So that's now, if it's not your primary residence, it's an investment property. You do have to put at least like 20% down,
Mm-hmm. That's correct. Yeah.
with any, even if it's a residential, like, and
Mm-hmm.
it's considered an investment property, 20% down has to be put. But there's so many ways you can attain that, whether it's like from wholesaling deals, and just getting some extra capital, or you can work with a lender to get that down, where you save it, maybe use your
Mm-hmm.
401k towards that money. But it's a great way to go. I mean, for me, my goal is like anywhere between a 4 to, I don't know, even like a 30 unit, I'd be
Yeah.
okay with
Right.
acquiring. Because for me, it's like I'll put that 20% down, because 20% down maybe in a smaller market, not necessarily
Mm-hmm.
Cali, because 20%
Oh
down
yeah,
for,
there's a lot.
I mean,
Like
any
you're talking about a
multifamily is
couple
probably
million.
over a
Yeah.
million,
Yeah.
depending on the area. But you can get 100K houses or multifamilies. So 20% of that, like, that's nothing, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why so many people do out of state investing. But I mean, you definitely have to do your research, ask around. That's one thing I'm figuring out right now on, like, what are good markets to buy multi
Yeah.
family properties in. Not like major multifamilies, but like, yeah, like 4 to 20 units.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And then also check your local, city and county, and they have programs that will help you with the down payment and
yeah.
all of this, because I know California I think LA County or the city had passed a law now that you can um, apply for up to 10% of the down
Right.
payment, and then they'll forgive the loan if you live in the residence for 5 years. So
Ah,
yeah, so you'll borrow up to 10% of what the cost is, and then you take a loan out for that. And then if you live in a residence for 5 years, then they'll forgive the loan, so you don't have to pay that back.
you don't have to pay
Um,
that 10% back.
you don't have to take 10% back. So,
Got it.
so they're trying to give incentives for people to actually purchase property. I know that on an investor side, it's just a little bit difficult, in California now, just
Right.
because of all it's very tenant friendly state.
Right.
And so I know a lot of landlords that are, having some trouble evicting people and stuff, even after the moratorium with
Hmm.
COVID. But, and that's why a lot of people are looking out of state, and, it's cheaper out of state as well, too. So,
Right.
um, but, those, just look into those type of programs, because those programs exist. And, if you're looking to get into a quadplex or a fourplex or whatever the case may be, there's programs out there to help you out.
Yeah, and like you've done some research. You have like you've signed up for newsletters on these like real
Mm-hmm.
estate news. I think I said it earlier. I never thought I would be that person looking into like Wall Street Journal, or like, like those
Mm-hmm.
specific newsletters. But educate yourself, especially in the market, and the market that you're interested in investing in. Where
Mm-hmm.
are the local laws? Like, what's
Yep.
what's happening? Like you said, if people aren't listening out for these things, like, that's how you miss out on these opportunities. So do some research when it comes to that. Um, yeah, it looks like Jordan surrounded by mostly duplexes, some
Mm-hmm.
quads, such a couple while I'm out here. Oh
Yeah,
yeah,
that's good.
totally.
Yeah, 100%.
That's definitely a great way to do that. And yeah, definitely research what's in your market, what's in your city, or the state, like what kind of laws. But it's also kind of a thing too, where we didn't really touch upon, which is like creative finance as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is another
Mm-hmm.
way to take down properties if you want to buy and hold. But you would have to be like a direct to seller kind of
Mm-hmm.
situation. And so this is why wholesaling is such a great foundation for
Yeah,
everything, because it teaches
absolutely.
you everything. You're learning how to market. You're creating a marketing strategy. You're having to invest in everything, and you're learning how to speak with sellers, how to close deals. So you understand the process to close. Working with title. So wholesaling gives you all the tools. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something that's not really talked about in terms of um, taking those skills and implementing them into everything else. So people use wholesaling as their foundation. And once they get come across a good deal, they're able to then decide their exit strategy, which is basically the strategy that they'll move forward with. I'm going to Airbnb or, whatever the case may be.
Yeah. I was just going to say, like, I think wholesaling gives you the mindset of an investor, right? And then if you get to, an agent, you get in the mindset of retail, like, the best, highest price for that property. And that necessarily doesn't equate to a investor standpoint unless they're renovating and then selling, right? So I think, wholesaling has its benefits in regards to the mindset of the type of real estate that you want to do to generate wealth. So
that's a great point. Yeah, that's a mic drop. This is stop the podcast right here. But yeah, there's stuff that we didn't even really get into. Like I meant to talk about land too. There's also ways to
that's right.
In land and build, connecting with builders. But I think you guys got a really good idea. Really appreciate you guys in the comments. But in terms of like how to get started, I think honestly just taking action, bigger pockets, YouTube. Reaching out to people, professionals, whether it's like wholesaling or whatever, reach out to them and just continue learning and take action. As you learn something, just take action on it. Join a course, join a group. It's so simple to get started in real estate. You can get started from your couch. Like that's so many people have done that from like their home. They don't even have to step out. Especially with the pandemic and everything, everything's on Zoom now.
I actually did my first deal on this couch, so just letting you know.
There we go. That's so funny. The sacred couch.
That's it.
I did mine from my desk. So you don't have to. That's the beauty. As long as you focus on the process, you don't have to go anywhere. I know so many people in California that are investing out of state successfully. They have a whole process down because they treat it like a business. There's a difference between being a landlord and being a business owner.
100%.
You can be a business owner and own properties, but it's like that's where you flip the mindset. So really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Definitely reach out to us on IG at Real Estate Gladia, at Mr. Tim REI, on our podcast on IG at get_the_bag podcast. We'll be back next week, hopefully together. I'm back down in LA now, and really excited for what to come up with topics. So feel free to reach out to us if you guys have any questions or topics you want us to cover. We're gonna try to get some guests in here for the next couple weeks, next couple months. Hopefully some in person, maybe some, just guests coming on and showcasing, what they're all about.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're excited for the future episodes, and we appreciate everybody that's, loyal followers and new viewers as well. So just make sure you hit that subscribe button below, follow us on social, and, we love helping you guys out. So.
Yeah. Cool. Well, you guys have a great day, and we'll catch you guys next week.
All right.